I'm Malcolm Van Delst, and this is an excerpt from book 5 in the Do the Wrong Thing series. Book 5 is got a working title of How Low Can You Go? Last week, Ava started and stopped a pregnancy and learned that the man she loves conned her best friend for $1,000. This week, I'm starting from the beginning of the book again. I have two questions. One, should I open the book this way or start with just the Greg is in a band section? Question 2, I've moved pieces around and added others. So how is the flow now? This would be the very beginning of How Low Can You Go? Chapter 1, Olio, the last and first chapter. Add date here. For what it's worth, while I was falling with Greg, I was rising in other ways. I was as balanced as I've ever been, I suppose, but in a bipolar type way. Does that make sense? My heart was crushed, but no. My heart had compartments. The ones for love and relationships were neglected and dust-filled, with cracked floors, ceilings, and walls. But the ones for art and self-expression were tended and full. I lived in those rooms. No, that's not it either. I couldn't love because my need was so great that I couldn't chance opening up. I couldn't talk about how I felt either. If that limitless desire to be wanted escaped when I opened my mouth, but I had to speak. Which I mean express myself, but I couldn't speak. I couldn't write. No, I haven't captured this correctly. Words bored me in the late 80s. I wanted images and music. Fashion came naturally, or it had been inculcated in me via my image-conscious mom. Maybe a bit of both. I nailed my heart's love rooms shut, spray-painted keep out across them like a boy child with a clubhouse, and dove into the art ones. Abandon and loss, followed by pulling myself together and making positive changes, everything in its place. No. I had a soup of abdication and persistence, despair and grim determination. Heroes Olio. Greg is in a band, which is cool, I guess. He plays guitar, writes songs, and sings. I know that previously I made him sound like a loser, but he's really committed to his career, or somewhat committed. His band, named by himself, is called Vertex of Marrow. They play metal, much more metal than I'd expect from someone who hangs around a punk house like Nerd and Doof. I'll never not love that name, Nerd and Doof. Food and drink spelled backwards. Greg had two bands before Vertex, always more metal than punk. I don't listen to much metal. The farthest I go is Soundgarden. Not many people listen to them. Greg does. Emily finds them too hard. I think they're awesome and don't understand why they're not more popular. Vertex of Marrow practices twice a week in someone's basement. The other band members never come to Nerd. Ben, the guy I wish I was with, wants to start a band. He wants to buy a drum machine and an amp for doing shows. I was going to buy a sampler after quitting advertising school. I saw one at a second-hand shop. I asked the guy who worked there how to use it, but it was complicated. I bought a pressure cooker instead. Ben was in a legendary punk band, Johnny and Greg tell me, one of Arbor's first. It was called Apolitical Statement. And then there's the whole long section about when she goes to Greg's girlfriend's boyfriend's house to watch Greg perform in their basement. Greg takes a long drag on his smoke and breathes out. He's propped up on his elbows, lying on his bed or single mattress, and I'm beside him. He stares into space. An old brown wardrobe ahead of him blocks the bay window. Sunlight peeks in around it. My dad is a psychiatrist, my mom a housewife, he says. I nod, watching. He's never talked about his family before. Do you have brothers and sisters? Nope. He continues to stare straight ahead. Maybe I do, but I've never met any. He glances at me. I'm adopted. Oh. He inspects the tip of a cigarette, then reaches for an empty beer bottle. What was your childhood like? Kept to myself. He clips. He pushes the cigarette into the bottle. Tss. That's it, I say. My mom was really into church, he recites, glancing briefly at me again, always running around, doing things, meetings, choir, food drives. Dad liked to stay in his office. So you're all by yourself? Dad's office was at home. He had another one, but the one at home is. He worked all the time, I say. You could say that, Greg says dryly, reaching for his cigarette pack. He takes another cigarette out, lights it, and looks at me. The top drawer in his desk was full of little envelopes of pills, he says. And the bottom one, porn. Remove. Greg, his two roommates, and I are in a diner near Greg's latest house. It's a bright, sunny day. I'm wearing a white t-shirt that I cut the sleeves off of and spray painted with fluorescent pink, yellow, and green flowers. The straps and sides of the black bra I sprayed fluorescent green are visible. Army shorts and docks complete my outfit. My hair dyed platinum, as it's been for a while. Greg and I kiss at our booth, tongues down each other's throats, while the roommates sit across from us, rolling their eyes. I'm brave and daring. My nipples harden. My crotch contracts. I don't care about Ben, my job, my mother. I am a punk rock queen. Hey, the old French-Canadian owner of the restaurant is beside our table, thin, pink-frosted lips pursed in anger. Her straggly bun of gray brown hair shakes, and she glares from behind square, wire-rimmed glasses. Her order booklet and the pen in her hand shakes. You can't do that here, she says. If you want to act like that, go somewhere else. Okay, fine, says Greg, pulling away from me and smiling. She looks from him to me, grimaces in disgust, and walks away. End remove. The next section is the one when he breaks into her house and invites her to go drinking in the bar across the river. Then I've got this different section again. Remove. A chubby, plainly dressed woman shows up at Nerd and Doof. Anja says she works for Bombardier. She's a project manager, account executive, or something vague and non-definitive. She wears slacks and loose-fitting suit coats in beiges and medium blues with pale pink or ivory tops and black 1-inch pumps. She must come straight from work to Nerd. I don't know how she found her way here, but when I first meet her on a Thursday night, everyone already seems to know and love her. She buys me a beer and offers me cigarettes and pot. She does with everyone, I see. About my age, I appreciate that Anja seems to admire me. I admire that she obviously has a lot of money. She shows no sexual interest in the boys or women. Greg, Bob, and I start going home with her after things wind down at Nerd, where we continue drinking and getting high until she has to go to bed. She lets us crash on her expensive couch and shiny hardwood floors. In the morning, she gets up and goes to work, letting us sleep in. It's a beautiful apartment to drink her coffee and eat her eggs from, looking out the bay windows at the leafy park beside the Museum of Civilization.